Welcome everybody. Today I'm sitting with Carmen Gray and we're going to be talking about the teaching of visual arts. First, we are on the land of the Duranbal people, and I would like to acknowledge the elders past, present and emerging. And in the spirit of reconciliation, I'd like to thank them for letting us hold this conversation. It'll have a couple of parts. Wurua Kiwi welcome as well. Mea no tatu, whakatakateho ki te uru, whakatakateho ki te tunga, kia makina kina ki uta, kia matara tara ki tai. Ehi akana te kura, hei tiao, hei huka, hei hohu, ti hei Maori ora. Welcome. Thank you for taking this time to come and talk, Carmen. So, you work in our university and you teach our visual arts. You didn't suddenly drop down from the sky and become a visual arts teacher. How did this happen?
Well, thanks Stephen, and thanks for having me today. It's lovely to be here. So I guess my whole history and life story, I suppose, led me to the place where I am now, like most people. And I think probably my love for art and all things creative started in New Zealand when I was young, because that's where I'm from. In fact, I'm actually a member of the Ngāi tribe from New Zealand, so kia ora.
I am very pleased to meet you, thank you.
So in New Zealand, we lived on the west coast of the South Island, and we lived in a little town called Hokitika. You probably know it.
I have been there.
It's very, very cold, and it's the west coast is sometimes by the locals called the wet coast because it gets meters and meters of rain every year. So just walking around, the ground is kind of mossy and slushy and soft with all of the water in it. It's just a very wet, gloomy and quite gothic place, you could probably say. And while we grew up there, I met a lady called Alison Sanson who became a mentor for me, and she's an artist there. She's still alive now. She's in her 90s. And she was just very kind to me, and she taught me a lot about drawing, and we would go out into the bush and draw and paint different natural things like flowers and landscapes and things like that. And that was really kind of the beginning of my creative journey, I suppose you could say.
And that was, I'm assuming that was in your, I call it your school years or that
Correct.
kind of,
yeah.
So how did that move you across? Because now, of course, you're in Australia, and
exactly,
that was just the start of things.
That was the beginning. So that kind of sparked my interest in all things creative, and then we moved to Australia when I was 10 and lived on the Sunshine Coast. And then I was also very interested in ballet, so I did dancing for a long time. And when I finished school, I wasn't really sure kind of what direction I was going to go, but I knew it would be something to do with visual art. So I stumbled across the course at WAPA at Edith Cowan University in costume and set design. And I enrolled there and did 3 years of that, and it was fabulous. I did a lot of designing for theatre, dance, musical theatre, and it was just a fantastic kind of education in all things creative.
So that would encapsulate both the drawing, the feel for materials, the technique,
and textiles. You know, there was costumes and it was all aspects of design really. There was drafting, there was learning how to draw a scale plan, all of that kind of thing. Yeah.
Did you think the world of design, I was going to say, is it archetypal, it doesn't change, or do you think the technology changes but the principles are the same?
I definitely think that's the case. So in design we have what we call the elements and principles of design, which are kind of the building blocks of all visual information. And the elements are really things like line, shape, colour, all of those things, and the principles are the way we put those together. And so that applies to any kind of design. It could be interior design, could be tattoos, it could be graphic design, it could be art, it could be any kind of design uses those elements and principles, and they always remain constant. But the way we use them does change because of technology.
So, I mean, this is a relevant question. You now teach, of course, in your own history, so you took that qualification. Did you say, I'm going to be a teacher, or what is it?
No, I never did. I never did. So at school, it was interesting because I really just didn't know what I should do. And I look back and I remember there was one person there, a teacher, who said to me, you should think about being a teacher. And I instantly dismissed that idea. I thought, no, I don't want to spend my life in school. But of course, here I am. So the pathway after university was kind of a long and winding one. I did do some designing after I finished at university, but I discovered I didn't really love it. I have to say, I'm probably a bit more of a lone wolf. As a designer in theatre, you're working with a team, and you've got very strict deadlines. You cannot break those. I mean, opening night, you can't move it. So it's quite a high pressure situation, and I didn't love all of that stress. And I started to sort of move slowly a little bit more into the world of visual art for that reason, because it was something creative, but I sort of saw it more as a hobby. But then I decided it might be something I could look at doing a bit more seriously.
And that was you were on Edith Cowan, so you gradually gravitated back to this area?
Correct.
Or?
So we came back to, my partner and I came back from Perth and moved to Rockhampton, and this is where he's from, and so that's how we ended up back here. And of course my family was on the Sunshine Coast where we came from, so it made sense for me to come back to Queensland as well.
So fast forward, now you're building your teaching skills and you're working in that visual art space. So if I said to you, and I think whenever you ask somebody who teaches something, there's always some underpinning kind of philosophy or theory. I don't want to say theoretical, that's the wrong word, but there's some kind of thing that they kind of say, this is who I am as a teacher. What would you say if somebody asked you that?
I think probably I enjoy teaching because I enjoy helping people, and I suppose with teaching it's something that you feel like you're helping somebody when you're teaching something. But I enjoy thinking about ways of structuring information that make it easy for somebody to take on and absorb and kind of understand. And thinking about that kind of structuring of information really interests me, and how you know, things like, for example, the other day I learned that if you create a teaching video of more than 3 minutes, people don't watch it. Well, they don't watch more than 3 minutes of it. So things like that really kind of help me work out, well, what is the best way I can package this information that is going to be taken on by the learner the easiest, and in a way that is going to help them remember it. So that kind of planning, I really enjoy doing that, and I enjoy making the resources and sort of constructing that kind of lesson, I guess you could say, that will hopefully be good for the learner. And over time I've sort of looked, I suppose, at what's worked and what hasn't, and I try to refine my approach to it so that it's better and better, and so that my students get a better kind of experience, a better learning experience when they come to us.
It's interesting you mentioned that kind of the 3 minute, you know. There were some who would say that this will always change in time. They will say the TikTok generation have, I think somebody told me it's 9 seconds, and then they will move up to the next one. Do you feel sometimes when you're thinking about your teaching, there's what I call the thing that's on the front of stage, you're teaching, but you're also looking for that thing they're learning as an extra without consciously learning it?
Yeah.
Do you have that kind of thought as a teacher?
I think teaching visual art, we try to help our students really think deeply about themselves. That's, you know, to create something new, to be creative, to be an artist, you've got to be authentic. So you've got to bring something of yourself to whatever you're creating or producing. And so I suppose that kind of introspective thing of really examining what it is you're taking on and thinking about is kind of innate to the subject that we teach. I don't know if that answers the question, but
yeah. So I think it does, because what you're saying is that in the teaching that you create, there's an attempt or a design or a desire to create some kind of connection.
I think
between
so.
both you as a teacher and the student, but also what they're trying to create. And if the connection is that kind of front of centre, then the other stuff comes with it.
I hope so. But getting back to what you just said about TikTok and the 3 minutes, I think in TikTok 3 minutes is the maximum you've got.
It is, yes,
so isn't it interesting that they probably know the research too, and that's probably why they set that as the maximum amount for their videos. Perhaps, who knows?
It is important because, of course, one of the great strengths in CQU is we want people to be able to study anytime, any place, so we engage with that teaching and learning in a digital world. So I think we'll stop there for the time being, and thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.